Hello, this is Ogma001, and we're going to go on a little journey today, my kind viewers. This is going to be a dungeon guide for the dungeon Inferno, which is the second dungeon in the secret world. So, in this we're going to be venturing into the depths of hell via that door, but first of all you'll need to go ahead and talk to this kind chap here who will go ahead and give you the quest. I'm going to talk over this because this cutscene isn't really part of the guide, it's just something that will happen. So the general idea is, hell has opened up underneath Kingsmouth and we've got to go in and see what's going on and deliver the mighty hand of God. So what am I going to do in this video? I'm going to run through all the different bosses, give you how I think you should be doing them, or the general idea and tactic. I might even show you a few shortcuts within the dungeon. It's going to be edited, it's not just going to be the entire dungeon in one run, because that'd be like ages and it would be a waste of your time. So I think first off, I'm going to go ahead and show you each of the mob types one by one, because there are basically 3 mobs in here and 3 different mob types. There's these crawly types, these big fat tanky types, and some healing types. Of course, this being one of the dungeons, you will need a 5-man teams. Generally, the consensus is 3 DPS, tank and healer, and then you can tank and spank most of the bosses, although there are various little things the bosses will do differently, so it's interesting. What I like about this dungeon is there are a large variety of bosses. There are different things you'll need to do. So, let's get into things. When you first step through the doors, you will end up in the jolly land of hell. Here you will notice a few things. For example, that there are giant mountains of fire now in the area. As you can see, they're the crawly types I was talking about. I will give you their name once we fight them and I can talk to you a bit about them. They're relatively easy, they're your stock mobs. As you can see, I have my crack team of extraordinary fighters here and we're going to pursue our way through hell. So if you see that first group out there, you can head right down this way and basically walk around them and completely avoid the fight, because why do you want to fight mobs? That's not why you're here. As you can see, we also have some dialogue delivered from a demon from hell, because that's why we're here. We are in hell, in fact. And up here we're going to find our first group of mobs. So the first type of mob you'll see are the Rakshasaka. And these are your basic units. They don't do anything particularly special. The only real tactics you'll need are tank and spank. Good luck with these guys, they're not going to be any problem for you at all. They're just there for the sake of it. So, the next enemy we have in store for us is the Sister of Sheer. This lovely female has 11k health, and she can also throw down a nice yellow circle. Any enemies in the circle will be granted a shield. So your best bet is to lure them outside of this area, so you can actually take the fuckers down. She's pretty easy, doesn't have too much health, you should be able to take her and her posse out no problem, especially if you've been tackling the bosses up until this point. She is very easy, good luck with her. And the last enemy type you will be encountering in this dungeon is the Hell Beast Master. This lovely chap has about 14k health, he doesn't have too high a DPS output and is basically a tank. So much like you, they have their sort of healer type, the Sisters of Sheer, the Rakshasaka, or whatever you want to call them, and the, of course, Hell Beast Masters. So yep, they're big, tall, scary fuckers, although you should be able to handle them because they're really easy. The mobs are really not the centerpiece of the dungeon, they're just reused models from outside. In fact, I'm pretty sure the Hell Beast Master is just a small version of the hardwired flesh tank. You shouldn't be having any problems with this at this point, so good luck. Take the fuckers down as quickly as possible, and it should be easy. What's that time? You've guessed it, it's boss time. The first boss you'll be facing is, I believe it is pronounced, the Antimony Ministrix. She is fairly basic, she has around 85k health, so she shouldn't be too tough. The best tactic is to make sure you do not get hit by the AoE damage by the pillars around her. As you can see, these things will emit a pulse. If you're caught in that pulse, it will do a crap ton of damage. The first few times we played this we wiped because party members would not move around as much as I would have liked. As you can see in this one, we do eventually get her HP down, and she goes down. She'll drop some nice loot, and that's the first boss. She's not too tough, but if you're not careful, she will kill you. The next boss is slightly smaller, and it's not as big a boss, but it's still a boss, and there are still some tactics you will need to employ. His name is Kuroda, or Corridor, I'm not sure, however you want to pronounce it, it's really up to you. But the basic tactic for him is get any range DPS away from him, get any melee DPS to stack on his ass, and get the tank to make sure he doesn't face the melee DPS. Because we've all got range DPS, I stack on his ass just to quickly demonstrate to you that you can stack on his ass to avoid damage, because he will only attack in front of him. You will also need to pull him away from the back of the arena, because There's an approaching fire that if it gets too close to you, it will kill you very quickly. He's not too hard, just make sure you do pull him back, because the first time we fought him, we thought that was him making the fire, but it's an environmental effect, and you can mitigate all that damage just by backing off a bit. So, do yourself a favour and don't get hit by the fire. It's a lot of damage, and you don't need it, I don't need it, the tank doesn't need it, the healer doesn't need it, no one needs it. He's a small boss, so there's not a lot I can say about him. He's very easy. He does have an attack much like the Bogeyman, if you remember from the Kingsmouth area, where he'll create a load of AoE damage. Just get inside the bubble when you cast that, and you won't get hit by any of it. He's really very easy. He's not too tough. I think you got this next guy is the Hardwired Flesh Tank. He is the third boss. There are 6 bosses, so if you beat this guy, you'll be roughly halfway, so good for you. This guy has around 120k health, so significantly more than the previous boss. You're going to want to button this fucker down as quickly as possible, because the longer you take to fight, the more the ground beneath you will start to erupt with fire. It will have a small tail. You'll see sort of the ground go red and a particle effect will appear over it. When that happens, you'll want to get to a platform that doesn't have that effect underneath it, otherwise you'll be hit with fire. If you haven't guessed, in hell, fire is bad. It will kill you. Okay. So this guy will take a bit longer because he's a fucking flesh tank and he will tear you in half. He doesn't have that high DPS output, so you should be able to take him. Again, I would say that this dungeon isn't too hard if you have a well-coordinated, well-oiled team that all know their roles. So hopefully you should take him down no problem. So Heart-Wide Flesh Tank, he's a big tank. Get rid of him as quickly as possible. Don't hang around for too long or it will get difficult and nasty. We eventually take him down. We pretty much did him first time. He's very easy. Just as long as you know, don't get caught by the fire. But it should be very, very self-explanatory. Okay, let's move on. So, boss number 4, the Trauma Diver. This guy isn't too difficult, although there are some things you should know. This is a DPS race. You need to burn that fucker as quickly as possible. Trust me, there will be approaching fire. He only has about 100k health, but you need to deal with all of that before the fire gets to you. So the best tactic is to pull him right to the end of the corridor and kill him as quickly as possible. There are some environmental effects, for example, much like with the first boss, there are some generators that will explode with electricity that you need to avoid on either side of the corridor. The other things you should note about this particular boss fight is that he has an AoE he can throw down. As you can see here, we don't pull him all the way back, but we finish him way before the fight. Well, we beat him just in the nick of time, because I wanted to pull him back further, but we were like, nah, it's K, bro. But we take him down. The Trauma Driver, not too hard, but you do need to make sure you don't get hit by the approaching fire. This is a DPS race. This means you do need good DPS on the team, or you won't take the guy out in time. Shouldn't be too hard on normal difficulty. I assure you, when it gets to the more, higher difficulties, it becomes a lot more difficult. But the first time you go there, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. You should kill him way before the fire gets to you. Next boss. So, the second to last boss fight, Recursia, Marion 1. This boss fight is slightly more tricky. She has about 120k health, although it's not really her hit points that make her difficult. At 3 points during the match, she will summon Trigger Things. These have about 1k of health, and if they get to her, they will cause massive amounts of damage. Don't let them get to her, kill them. On the third time she does this, she normally is static, but on the third time she'll start moving around the arena. At this point, you have a number of choices to make. You can either try and kill her as quickly as possible and burn the fucker. To do this, you'll need to launch massive amounts of DPS and hopefully have enough health to withstand any blasts that, when they Trigger Things explode. Or alternatively, you can drag her around the arena, you can try and kill the things as well as causing damage, and you have a multitude of tactical options here. I believe in this one we had someone covering the Trigger Things while we did as much damage as we could, and we take her down, so there are a number of ways you can deal with her at this point. I will also say, on the first 2 times when she summons Trigger Things, she won't move and you don't need to worry about dealing with her while they're attacking, so you can just deal with them. If you hide in the corner by the entrance of the room, however, you can avoid all damage from the Trigger Things, but once she's moving around and they're exploding all over the arena, you can't hide in the corner and avoid damage. So let's move on to the next boss. So you fought your way through the cockles of hell, you've journeyed into the heart of the beast, and what do we find here? The Machine Tyrant. This is what it's all been leading up to. This fucker has 120k health, you should be able to take him. But there are some things you should know about the arena. First of all, he will send incineration waves after you. The only real tactic I can say for this is stay out of any of the danger zones indicated, because it will fuck you up. The other ability he has is he will create one of those yellow area of effect spells. If he walks in that, he gets a shield, which is annoying. This guy is big, he has a lot of health, and he will take a while to take down. He is the hardest boss here, but that's sort of to be expected. You should be able to rip him in half, no problem, as long as your team is well coordinated. If you've got this far, I reckon you should be able to do it, so you're probably not going to wipe on him if you've made it to this point. Just remember, be careful. Watch out for those area of effect hacks he has, because they do a shit ton of damage. If you have a good healer, you can afford to get hit a few times, because it does get a bit hectic. There's, well, as you can see on the screen here, there's AoE out the wazoo, so just get in there, give it 100%, and take out the machine tyrant for the good of mankind, and we can save the world. Well, everyone can. One at a time, please. So, you fought your way through hell. There's a portal you can leave to on the side before your blood oxidizes and you turn into a metal construct, because apparently that's going to happen if you hang around in hell too much. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I hope it's been informative. Maybe you've just watched it because you like to hear the sound of my amazing, charismatic voice. Well, whatever the case, why ever you're here, thanks for watching. This has been Ogma001, and I've taken you to hell and back. Well, I haven't taken you back, I've just taken you to hell and left you there to rot.